What is sewing? This is the art of joining materials, which is fabrics, together with needle and thread. Sewing is a useful creative skill for all ages. Sewing does not discriminate. Sewing lets you mend your materials. Sewing lets you decorate your fabric and even make new projects like bags, tablecloths, outfits, cap, head wraps, toy, etc. Using any material of your choice. Sewing can save you money, sewing can help you repair, sewing can spark creativity. Okay guys, so this is the first thing you see on my first sewing course that is now available on Seller, my basic sewing foundations for beginners. So I want to officially introduce you guys to my sewing course. I have 2 sewing courses available on Seller right now, and trust me guys, it is worth it. Okay, so I'm not just going to be introducing this course to you. Of course, that's not the only thing I'm going to be doing. No, we are going to be following the instructions that I wrote down on my first sewing course, that's the basic sewing foundation course. I have some instruction there which we're going to be following, and we're going to be creating 3 things following the instructions on my sewing course. The first is going to be a tote bag. But anyways, the first is going to be a tote bag. The second is going to be a simple off-shoulder crop top, and the third one is going to be a head bonnet, however you call it. And we're going to be using only 3 measurements for this. Okay, so because of the kind of instructions I wrote down on my sewing course, which is all revolving around length, width and circumference, we're going to be using those 3 measurements to create these 3 things. And why? I want you to have this general understanding that there is nothing that you want to recreate or reduplicate, be it an object, be it a human body, a space, that does not involve the length of it and the width of it. Okay, length and width are measurements that always occurs when you're trying to measure anything, and this is not just for sewing. If you're a carpenter, if you're a plumber, if you're hairstylists who use it because they have to cut length, then they cut the width of it, the width of the head, amount of what they'll cut. Like, length and width is something that is always occurring when you're taking measurements. And yeah, I also made you understand that with these 2 measurements you can be able to create anything, just having a basic knowledge of length and width. Okay, and also circumference, which is round, how something is round, like how round something is, the circle in it, the curves in it. Circumference is another measurement that is often talked about when it comes to sewing, and I also want you to understand how to apply this to your project. Okay, 2 courses available. I'm not going to talk more on the second course, but it's all about measurement. We went like deep dive. I started measurement introduction on the first course, but then on the second course there's a deep dive on how to understand measurements accurately, and we're going to talk more on that on another video. But today, let's not talk too much, just let's get into following an instruction that I have written down on my course and then create these 3 things that I have mentioned. The first thing we're going to be making is a tote bag, and on my sewing course I said imagine making a simple tote bag. The length of the tote bag is how long you want it to be from the top of the bag to the bottom. So when you hear measure the length of a tote bag, it means from the top of the tote bag to the bottom of the tote bag, measure how long you want it to be. On my cutting table here, I have my fabric already cut out, and I'm using a jean fabric for this. So I have 2 pieces here, one for the front and one for the back. So what I need to do is mark out my length. So the fabric is already cut to my desired length, which is how long I want my toe bag to be from here to here. So like I said, I am working with 19 inches. So my straps will be sitting here because this is going to be the top of my toe bag. So this is where I'll be placing the strap, and this is the length. Now the next is mark the width, which is the desired wideness you want, and I'm working with 17 inches as the wideness. Okay, this is the wideness side to side, how wide you want it, and I'm working with 17 inches. So when I'm done sewing, I'll be left with either 16 inches or 15.5, but yeah. So this requires 2 pieces, front and back, and I just wanted to mention this because on my sewing course, I kept emphasizing on how important it is for you to cut out the front and the back of any shape or object that you're about to recreate, okay? There is side to side, there is front and back, there is length, and there is width. All this was mentioned on the sewing course. So what I'm doing right now is I am about to hem the top of my toe bag, which is the top place. I'm about to hem it, and I'm hemming it in using 1.5 inch in total. So I folded half an inch first, and then I folded it again by 1 inch, and I'll take this to my sewing machine to hold this down. Okay, this is on the top of my toe bag. So I'm going to sew this in place, top stitch. I am done doing that. I went ahead to top stitch. If you're doing this with me, go ahead and top stitch the top of your toe bag so you can have like a clean finish, and also iron as you go. I also emphasize about ironing, which is pressing your fabric while you sew on my sewing course. This is very important, especially for beginners, to give you like a very clean finishing. Okay, so this is what I'll be using for my strap. This is the straps that I'll be using for my bag. I went ahead to cut out something long, very long, and it was 5 inches wide. I folded it and then I created a strap. Okay, I'm going to be linking a video on my description box that shows you how to create a strap, whether for a bag or for your dress or whatever it is that you're making. If you need a strap, there's a video on my description box how to, you know, make one for yourself. And because I wanted like a very different design on my toe bag, I cut out this very long piece of fabric, and I will be attaching this on the front side of my toe bag before I put in my straps. Okay, now this is for designing. Once you're able to follow my sewing course and read all the instructions, follow all the instructions, it's going to give you this insight to understanding how to cut things in length and in width, and you can actually use that particular knowledge to design either your bag or your pillowcase or your dress, whatever it is that you're making. You can be able to make it and actually create a design on it, because like I said on the introduction of my video, most of these things are always revolving around length and width, and once you're able to understand it very well, you can create whatever it is that you're creating and also create a design for it, just following your length and width. Okay, so what I'm doing is attaching my strap on the front side of my toe bag, and I place it 6 inches down from the top of my toe bag. Okay, and I am putting the second side of the strap so that it stays in place like this. See what I said, 6 inches down from the top. I'll create a point, and then I'll place it and then sew this in. I actually have like a very detailed video of making a toe bag, but then I know when I dropped that particular video, most people did not understand what I was doing because they don't understand the concept of the length and the width. So I'll be tagging that video or putting it on the description box below so you can understand. Okay, so if you want to really make a toe bag, you can watch that video. You can watch this as a reference to, you know, following the instructions, and you can watch that particular video as the step-by-step process of actually making a bag. So I repeated the same step on the front piece, on my back piece. So I have 2 pieces looking alike. So there are 2 pieces looking alike, and all I have to do is sew these 2 pieces together, and voila, I have a complete bag. Okay, so what I'll be doing is I'll be sewing this from the good side of my fabric, that's the right side. Because I do not have a weaving machine and I want this to be clean, I actually ended up using this particular bag as my gym bag. So I wanted it to be clean from the inside and from the outside, which is from the wrong side and from the right side. So what I did was stitch it first by quarter or 0.125 of an inch on the good side, and then after doing that, I went ahead to fold this back to the wrong side and then stitch it again. You're going to be seeing what I'm talking about. All because I want to actually have like a clean finish on the bag, on the front of the bag and on the back. So this can be done on your bag, on your dress, on whatever it is that you're sewing. If you don't have a weaving machine, that like a hemming machine to take off the rough edges, you can just follow this process, and whatever it is that you're making is going to come out looking like a ready-made, like an already made project. It's going to come out looking clean, you know, both on the inside and on the outside. So yeah, I'm done sewing. I'm going to trim off some of the edges, the rough edges, so I can go ahead and turn this to the wrong side of the bag, which is the inside of the bag, and then stitch it again, holding the sides and the bottom. Okay, so, and if I'm done, you guys are going to see how clean this is going to look without using a weaving machine. I've actually missed sharing my process with you guys. I've been taking time to really learn a lot, and yeah, I am glad I'm doing this again. Feels so good. So what I'm doing is making sure that I poke out every angle on this bag so I can stitch it again, you know, holding the sides and also the bottom. And you can see what is happening. You can see that what I'm stitching right now is clean, and I'm stitching this from the wrong side. So when I'm done stitching this from the wrong side and I flip this to the right side, you're not going to see any stitch again. Like, you're not going to see any stitch on the right side and also on the wrong side. This is like how to create a clean finishing for any of your projects when you don't have a weaving machine. Okay, so for my self-taught tailors that are still managing, this is something you should learn. Okay, this is something you should actually incorporate in your project. For the bottom shape of my tote bag, this is optional. In case you don't want yours to have this shape, you don't have to do it. For the bottom shape, all I have to do is on the bottom, I'll mark in 2.5 inches from the side, 2.5 inches from the side, and from the bottom I'll go up by 2.5 inches also, just to create a box shape. So this is the box. I'll do the same thing on this other side of the bag, and I'll cut it out. So this is just going to create that curve on the bottom shape. Like I said, this is optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want that shape. Me, I actually prefer having my bag looking straight with the clean cut, but I decided to do this for those that want to still get that shape, so that you don't say, oh no, I want my bag to look, you know, a bit curvy at the bottom. This is it. This is how you get the curvy bottom. Okay, so now all I have to do is open this like this, and so holding the 2 points of my bottom and the length, like my bottom and the side, making sure that those points are lined, and then I'll just lock this in. Now following this particular step is going to give you that curve on the bottom of your bag. Like I said, there's a very detailed video of me making a tote bag step by step. I'm going to link it on the description box below so you can follow and create yours. But yeah, this is mine. I love this bag. I love this bag so much. Now the next is making a very cute crop top using only length and width. Again, I'm showing you how to use your length and width to create very simple things for yourself. So I'm using Ankara for this, and the first thing I'm going to do is mark the length. Now, how did I get the length? I placed the tape on the top of my body where I want it to sit, where I want it to start from and to the bottom. So from here to here, I got 11 inches, and I'll mark that on my fabric. So I am marking 15 inches at last because I added 4 inches extra for my elastic channel. So for this crop top, I am going to be creating an elastic channel for the top and the bottom of my top, okay? There's going to be elastic on the top of it and on the bottom of it. And for the elastic, I'm using 4 inches, 2 on top, 2 at the bottom. So that is why I'm marking 15 inches as the length of my top. So the next is for me to determine the width of my dress or my top, sorry. And for the width, all I have to do is measure my round bust, and I times my round bust by 2. And why did I use 2? Because of gathers, okay? The top I'm making is a crop off shoulder gather top, and for the gathers I'm going to times my round bust by 2. So my round bust is 36 times 2 gives you 72. So that is how much fabric I need. I need fabric that is as wide as 72. So it has to be as plenty as 72 inches. Now, unfortunately, the fabric I was working with was not up to that amount, 72. So what I did was I cut out the front side, which is the front side of my top. I cut out the front side, which is 36. And then I'll cut out a back side, which is 36. So 36 plus 36 gives you 72. So I had to cut out 2 pieces, each 36 inches wide, to get what I was looking for. So this is for the first 36 inches. I actually added like 2 inches extra for sewing allowance because I'll be joining this to the back. You know, it is 2 pieces, so I'll be joining this to another piece, and for that reason I need like 2 extra inches for joining allowance, okay, to the sides. So yeah, this is for the front. Now, I mentioned on my sewing course that if you are making a top and you want it to be gathered, either a top, a skirt, or whatever it is that you're making, you want it to be gathered, it can be a sleeve. All you have to do is times your round measurement by how much gathers you want to see. If you want plenty gathers, you can use 2 inches. If you want plenty, like exaggerated, you can say times 3, times 4. So the more you times, the more gathers you're going to get for whatever it is that you're creating. So this is for the first piece. That's for my front. I'll duplicate this on another fabric to get 2. So all I have to do is place it on this fabric, wrong side facing wrong side, and I'll cut out another piece. And then I'll just go sew this together, like join it. I'll join it from the side first, from one side first, making it a one continuous fabric before I create my channel for elastic, pass my elastic through, and then close the other side, okay? So front and back has been cut out, and all I have to do is make this a continuous fabric by attaching this on one side, okay? So I'll place this wrong side facing wrong side and go attach. So yeah, I'll just pick a side, and I'm guessing this side here. So I'll just go sew it so it is a continuous fabric. So that is done. I'll iron this down, press this down. Very important, press as you go. Now all these things I am following, the instructions I'm following right now to make this top, I actually lay them down on my sewing course. Trust me, if you buy my sewing course, these are the instructions you're going to follow. And this video is going to be dedicated to anybody buying the course, okay? If you watch this video, and it is just going to be like a sew along for you, okay? So now let's create a channel for the elastic. So like I said, the elastic is going to be on the top of my crop top and also on the bottom. So I'll fold this by 1/2 inch. I'll press it down. Because it is Ankara, it will lay really flat once I put my iron on it. Ankara is that easy to manipulate. Once you put something very hot, no matter what it is that no matter what direction you want it to fall, it is going to fall flat and respect you. So yeah, that is why it's actually very important to press as you go. no matter what fabric you're using. I know chiffons can be very, very tricky. Chiffons and some other fabric can be very, very tricky to lay down, but using like a hot iron can actually do the work. Now for the elastic, it is very important for you to create a channel that is going to actually fit your elastic. Okay, that is why I am placing my elastic right now to determine how wide my channel is going to be. So now I know how wide it will be. I'll press it down. I'll do the same thing for the bottom. So yeah, remember to always do the same thing. If you want your bottom to also have elastic, do the same thing. Now if I was using this elastic, I'll just do this with it. This is the smaller elastic, the 1/2 inch elastic, but this one is going to be used for the sleeves. I'll use the 1.5 inch elastic rather, and yeah, I'll just create the channel. So anytime you're creating channel for your elastic, please use your elastic to determine how wide that channel is going to be, because your elastic is going to be sitting there and it needs to pass through comfortably and sit down on the channel comfortably or sit in or sit through. So I did the same thing for the top of my crop top and on the bottom too, and I'll just go so. Yeah, so I already sewed one side of the camera, and I'm just trying to show you what it looks like when I sew the other side. Okay, and remember I actually did this according to the width of my elastic. Okay, how wide my elastic is. Now when you're trying to use elastic for your project, let me show you what you need to do. Okay, how to cut out your elastic for your project. So now for the elastic that I'm going to be passing through the top of my crop top and on the bottom, I'll show you what I did. Remember my round bust is 36. So what I did was minus 6 inches from my actual round bust, which is 36 minus 6 gives you 30. So the length or the width of my elastic, let's say the length, how long it is 30. Okay, I minus 6 inches from 36 and I'm working with 30 inches as how much elastic that I'm using, because I need this to shrink the fabric. You know, elastic doesn't have to be your actual measurement. It can be lesser by 5 inches or by 6 inches and it is still going to fit you. Okay, and for the bottom, because I'm working with my round waist, the bottom of my crop top is going to sit on my round waist. All I had to do was minus almost 7 to 8 inches for my round waist measurement. My round waist is 29. I minus almost 7 inches or 8 inches from it, and I'm working with 21 inches as the length of my elastic. So what I will do now is use my pin, my safety pin, to pass the elastic through the channel. So I'll make sure that the one I'm passing on the top of my crop top, on the upper side of my crop top, is the one for my round bust, which is the 30 inches long elastic. And then the one that is going to sit on my waist, that's on the bottom of my crop top, is the elastic that I had to use my round waist minus 8 to 7 inches. I'll use that one on the bottom. Okay, I hope you understand what I mean. So the upper side is passed. I'll do the same thing for the lower side. Now if you buy, or not if, when you buy my sewing course on Seller and you fill the form, please make sure you leave your phone number there and also your email address, because I am going to be sending you like an automatic email or message telling you that you can, you know, get to me anytime if you have any issue understanding the instructions, or you know you have other questions. You know, you can actually reach out to me from after buying my sewing course. Obviously I am leaving like a message that is going to help me, you know, get in touch with you, for us to be able to communicate and for me to be able to put you through, you know, your process. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to let you know that that is available when you buy it. Now I am going to go ahead and close the other side of my top. I'll sew this in, and what I did on this particular top, I will repeat this on the sleeves of the top. So I went ahead to cut out the length I want for my sleeves and also the width I want for my sleeves, for the two sides, my left hand and for my right hand, using my round armhole as the measurement. So what I did was, my round armhole is 16 inches And because I wanted my sleeve to be a little bit puffy but smaller, the length was 6 inches. That is what I used. But for the puffiness, I said my round armhole 16 inches times 3. So like I said, the more you times your round measurements, the more gathers you get. So I times my round armhole, which is 16 by 3. And then for the length of the sleeves, I use 6 inches. And these are the two sides of my top, okay? The left side and the right side. So the sleeves is what is showing on the screen right now. This is how small I wanted it, but I wanted it to be a little bit puffy. So I said my round armhole times 3, which is 16 inches times 3 gives you 48. And that is how much fabric I used. So this is the fabric. I'll go ahead and repeat the same step I did while creating the channel for elastic for my top, okay? Just the same way. I'll create a channel that is going to be enough or wide enough for my elastic to pass through on the top of the sleeves and on the bottom of the sleeves, following the same process for the top. And here we have 2 sleeves successfully sewn, and all I have to do is attach this to the sides of my top, following the lines, okay? The joining I have on my top, that is the line I'm going to be placing my sleeves to. And also the joining on my sleeve is also where I will use to, join this to my top. So I have the line here and I have the line, that's the joining on my sleeve and on my top. I'll follow those lines and attach my sleeves. And that is how simple it was for me to create this crop top. I don't even know how to make you guys understand that this is really simple. Very, very simple. Trust me. It is very simple. So this particular project is done. We're going to move into the last project, which is using our round head circumference to create a ruche bonnet, a ruche hair bonnet, okay? Project 2 done. Now let's move into project 3. Now project 3 is making a hair bonnet, and for that I am going to measure my round head and then times it by 3, because that is how much gathers I want on my hair bonnet. So my round head, which is my round head circumference, is 25. 25 times 3 gives you 75, and 75 is what I am going to be using to create my hair bonnet. And I'll be showing you how easy it is to use your head circumference to create a hair bonnet. So go ahead and measure your own round head circumference and use that particular measurement to times by 3, because the more you times this, the more ruche or gathers you're going to get for your hair bonnet. This was stated on my sewing course. Again, all these instructions are in my sewing course. So here is the fabric I'll be using for my hair bonnet. I'm going to go ahead and fold this into 4 layers of fabric, okay? First, I'll fold by 2. I'll iron this down to lay it flat before I fold again by 2, making it 4 layers. Press as you go, very important. So this is done. Next is to fold by 2 again to give us 4 layers. So this is 2 layers. We need 4 layers before we start marking. So I'll fold this again by 2 like this. And now I have 4 layers automatically sitting on my sewing table. So I'll iron this first, and then I'll show you guys the next thing to do. Now the next step is really, really important, because we're going to be following a standard measurement. So here is 4 layers of fabric sitting pretty on my cutting table, and on the other side of the other side of the fabric, I have a closed edge. This is the point where all 4 fabrics meet, okay? And it is a closed edge. Emphasis on the closed edge. Now from that closed edge, I am going to divide the 75 inches by the standard measurement 6.28. 75 inches was gotten after I times my round head circumference by 3, and now I'm going to divide it by 6.28. This is the standard measurement for creating anything that has to do with a curve or roundness. After dividing 75 by 6.28, I got 11.943, which I approximated into 12 inches, and 12 inches is what I'm going to be working with, okay? Please let me know if you understand this step. So from the closed edge, From this closed edge here, I'll place my tape and I'll mark 12 inches round that closed edge. I'll just place my tape on that point and I'll make sure it does not move. I'll just keep moving my tape round it, marking 12 inches, and this is just going to help me create a perfect circle, and you're going to be seeing it. So this is very easy. Okay, I did a live section talking about this particular process, which I'm going to be linking on the description box too, and I also have videos on how I've been making hair bonnets 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I'll link those videos here. Very easy process to follow. But if you understand this one coming from my sewing course, you are going to be able to make yours without even watching these videos. Okay, all the instructions are on my sewing course. So this is what I have after marking 12 inches round that closed edge, making sure that the tape does not move from that point. So this is it. Now I'll add 2 inches extra, which is optional for creating an elastic channel. Okay, you can add 1 inches, you can add 2 inches, you can add 3. No, but the more you add, the more you're going to get. See, your hair bonnet is going to be a whole, it's going to be full, Charlie. So I just used 2 inches because the elastic that I used was the 1/2 inches elastic, and then I created a ruche on my bonnet. So I wanted this extra fabric for the ruche. And that ruche is actually optional, but I wanted it. I actually made the hair bonnet for my cousin. We have the same head circumference, and the ruche was just needed. Okay, so that's why it was created. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. Now, when I open this after cutting it out, you're going to see that I have automatically created a perfect circle. And how did I create my perfect circle? By following the steps I just showed you previously before this point. Okay, so when I open this up like this, are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? This is a perfect circle. Yes. So what I need to do now is duplicate this and get another piece. I need 2 pieces for my hair bonnet. So I'll cut out another piece. At this point, if you're someone that wants to make a hair bonnet that has 2 different sides, there's one color at the bottom and another color on the top, you can cut out another color right now while duplicating this. Okay, and you're going to have 2 separate pieces of 2 different colors, so you can actually wear them any way you want. So that means you're making a reversible hair bonnet. That's if you cut out 2 separate colors, like 2 different colors for your hair bonnets, you can make a reversible hair bonnet. But anyways, this is mine, and I'm just going to take this to my sewing machine and sew this round, leaving out a very tiny space to flip it to the right side. Let's go to the sewing machine. So right now I am sewing very, very close to the edge of my hair bonnet, or my fabric for hair bonnet, joining the 2 pieces of fabric together, but making sure that I'm going to leave like 2 inches or 1 inch space to turn this to the right side. Okay, very important. So yeah, this is the hole or the space I left, and I'm going to follow that space to flip this to the good side, to the other side, and we can go ahead and create the channel for the elastic. Very, very easy step. See, I can't believe that I did not know this while I was learning how to sew. Like, I did not know that just knowing how to take length, width, and circumference, I can be able to make a whole lot of projects as a beginner. I didn't know this, but then as soon as I started making more research, I got familiar with all this, and now I am very excited to share it with you. So now we're going to top stitch on the right side of the hair bonnet to create channel for the elastic, and I'll show you how. So I went ahead to iron this down to lay it flat so I can take my next step. So the next step is for me to create a channel for my elastic. Now remember that I left an opening while flipping this to the right side. Now I didn't close that opening because that opening is going to come in handy to pass our elastic through. So what I did now is I am going to be creating the second part of this bonnet, not the one that does not have the ruche. I'm going to be creating the one that has the ruche. Now if you want the one that does not have a ruche, just go ahead and just sew in 1/2 inch on your hair bonnet without going in by 1 or 2 inches. Watch what I'm doing. So right now I am sewing this, leaving a space of almost 1 inch after my circle. Like I went in. You can see that I went in. Now why I went in is because I want to create a channel for my elastic and still have a ruche showing from my hair bonnet, like a very, you know, that's a flay, not ruche, a flay. I want that flay to be showing on my hair bonnet, which is the second picture I showed you guys. So after sewing this round the first time, I'm going to continue again and sew in another 1/2 inch, giving it space to pass my elastic. So with the first sewing I made, if you did that first sewing, you can just go ahead and pass your elastic through it and you're done. But then if you want that flay on your hair bonnet, go ahead and sew this again, another circle by 1/2 inch or by how wide your elastic is. I don't know if you're understanding. Look at my hands and you understand. I'm practically telling you that the second stitch I am making is not necessary, it's optional, and it is happening because I want a flay on my hair bonnet. And now I have 2 stitches on my hair bonnet after flipping it to the right side. Now I am going to pass my elastic through the channel. So the elastic I used, what I did was use my actual hair circumference, my actual head circumference, which is 25 minus 5 inches. I'm using 20, just like I did for the other videos previously when I was making my top, minus 5 inches from my actual round head circumference, and I'm using 20. So my actual head circumference is 25 minus 5 inches. I got 20, and 20 is how long my elastic is. I'll use my safety pin and pass this through the channel I have created. So you can see that after making 2 stitches on my hair bonnet and passing that elastic through the second stitch, like the middle stitch, I am automatically getting a flay on my bonnet, you see. Now if you don't want to flay, just make 1 stitch on your hair bonnet after flipping it to the right side and pass your elastic through, and you're just going to have like a normal hair bonnet without a flay. But because of I followed my steps, I have a flay on my hair bonnet. And you guys, that is it. All I have to do now is sew my elastic together. I'll close the elastic together like this. The 2 ends, I'll sew it together like this. And once I am done doing that, I'll close that space I have, that space I use in turning my fabric to the right side, and the space I use in passing my elastic through. I'll close it up, and that is it. That is how I was able to make a hair bonnet, following the instructions on my sewing course. And I hope this has been like a very easy, detailed ride for you. Let me know in the comment section. I'm going to be making more videos talking about my sewing course and just carrying you guys along with the instructions I have written down on that sewing course. But apart from that, other videos are going to be coming, and I'm going to be writing more courses, especially on how to create patterns for yourself. I'm going to create a course that shows you how to start creating patterns for yourself to be able to make whatever it is you want to make. So if you don't know how to understand patterns or how to create patterns, expect a course on that. But for now, I have 2 courses available on Seller, one for your sewing foundation and one for how to take measurement properly. Thank you for watching to the end. Like this video, and don't forget to help me share this video to anybody you know that wants to learn how to sew. I love you guys so much. I'll see you on my next video. Bye.